good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and with me today, Jessica Reloaded. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. The Reel McCoy podcast is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie. You watch it, come back to us, and we break it down and we stir it all around. And we're welcoming, like I said, Jessica Reloaded. How have you been? And tell us, what are you doing with your time?
Well,
I have the
I've
best introduction for guests.
I've been doing good. I've been busy with school, with work, and just life in general, and trying to figure out what I want to do with my channel. But
Oh,
I think I got it figured out now.
great!
So
And you're back on doing some streaming duty.
yeah, I'm bringing back the Reddit streams because I got flooded with messages. I didn't think people actually liked them. They were starting to get boring for me, you
Mm.
know? And then people kept messaging me. They're like, "No, I love those streams. It's hilarious. Your reactions are funny." And I was like, "What can I do to make it less boring for me?" I'm like, "Got it. I'll bring in a co-host and then we'll have guests join us." So, we're bringing it back. Today is our first stream back. And Waifu Kron is now my co-host slash
Nice,
bestie, so why not? It works.
nice. To be perfectly honest, you did ask me to join, but you start at around 2 a.m. my time, which
Yeah,
is I would love to, but I've been burning the midnight oil far too much, and I actually need to get up to work at about 5:30. So I will be
yeah,
not sleeping. So, and
it's
it's
understandable.
really bad for me.
Well,
But
so
I do want to join someday because I've seen one of the older Reddit streams,
yeah,
and they are funny.
I do. So I am keeping, like, as long as I have it on a Saturday, I am keeping the time slot accommodating to the guest
Mm,
that wants to
okay.
come on. So that way, everybody gets a chance if they want to do it. I know some people would rather not because, like, it's not their thing, but there are people who have messaged me. They're like, "I want to come on." I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll figure it out."
Yeah, we'll shoot
So
you a link.
I've been scheduling people. I actually filled out the calendar every Saturday for September. I was
Nice.
really proud of myself because I'm like, wow.
That's half the battle to do the booking.
Hmm.
Yeah. Especially in a day like today, we're missing my good friend, my best friend, All My Feelings. He's the other co-host of the show, but sadly, he is dealing with some stuff where I would happily save his privacy with him and not actually divulge all the stuff. But he really wanted to join us, couldn't do it. So we'll just go ahead because this is August, and our August is a killer month. We're covering a lot of movies that revolve around serial killers. So we did Silence of the Lambs, and we did Seven last week. And today we're dealing with a movie that not a lot of people have seen. And there was a lot of problem getting information about everything that is dealing with this movie because it is very scarce. It is called Copycat from 1995. This is our first time watching that movie, right?
Hmm. That was, yeah, I watched it.
And give us your like first impressions of it before we jump into all the other stuff.
Well, my first impressions, first I was like, why the hell haven't I ever seen this movie? Because I enjoy movies like that. And then also because it's in 1995, I found it really fascinating to see, like, the I don't know, the editing styles and the filming, like, the like the movement of the camera and stuff, like, and then also Um, I was born in 1993, so I did see the old school computers when I was a kid, so it was really cool to see that again.
Yeah, and
Um,
we'll get into it, but the whole
yeah.
gaming online in 1995, that chessboard is pretty advanced for 1995. I know because
Oh, yeah.
I was a teenager at the time, and I was online with the old like modems that go like those, and the chat rooms kind of look the same, but not really. They look even fancier, but the game itself is way beyond what you can do back in the day, at least for me. All right. Like we do on every show, before we dive into the actual movie itself, we have a little segment called Behind the Screens.
Action take two.
Behind the Screen is where we discuss everything that is behind the scenes, the production stuff, all that good shit. It is written right there for me, so we'll just jump into it. Right, so the role of Helen Hudson, the psychiatrist, was first offered to Jodie Foster, of all things. She was in Silence of the Lambs, but she turned it down. Why she turned it down? We don't know. It could be subject matter. It could be the fact that she didn't want to get pigeonholed into certain roles. Not that it's the same as her Clarice Darling role in Silence of the Lambs, but I guess it's her issues. The character itself, Helen Hudson, was modeled after an FBI agent called John Douglas. Now, if you know that name or don't know that name, and you've seen recent things, the TV version of the same FBI agent, John Douglas, is now named Holden Ford. He is the main character in Mindhunter. If you ever seen that show, I think it was on Netflix. It's a really, really good show about the sort of the origins of serial killers. The role of MJ Monahan, the female detective, was offered to Gina Davis and Michelle Pfeiffer. They both either declined the role or didn't fit the role. Initially, it was cast by a woman called Jacqueline McKenzie, but when they started shooting, they had sort of creative differences and all that stuff, so it was recast with Holly Hunter. The character MJ Monahan was initially a dude. It was written as a dude, as a male detective. However, the director, Jon Amiel, wanted to have a little bit of a rethink. Maybe he was an early progressive, maybe not, doesn't even say. But he said it would be more interesting if you have a 2 female, 1 male dynamic with like the female detective, the female analyst and psychiatrist, and a male detective, that the male detective would be sort of ambiguous in terms of the romance, will they, won't they, on both female protagonists. The director actually, when they had to do the whole rewrite thing, because the male character would do other things and the female would do other things, the director took the writer, they literally locked them in a New York hotel, and they told him, just work on the rewrites. You do nothing but working on the rewrites because we need to be on time, on budget with this thing. So go ahead and write. And they wrote it down quite quickly. The character of Darrell Lee Cullum, the crazy guy played by Harry Connick Jr., his character is modeled after the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. Now, Harry Connick Jr. was known as a musician back in the day, and people didn't think his casting would be good because he's a musician, he's like a mid-level tier kind of country guy. What is he doing this like serious role? No problem, got into the role, and eventually he was one of the guys who got highly praised for their performance, which is always good when you get
He did great.
He did really great.
I was like, "Ooh, he really looks psycho."
He was really committed to the role. He
Mhm.
had longer hair at the time, so he went to this barber, got it chopped down to this weird kind of, is it messy or is it on purpose? We don't know. And he watched hours and hours and hours of serial killer kind of documentaries just to get into that mind of what am I supposed to do when I'm on screen, which is always good because if you got actors and actresses who are really invested in doing a good performance and having like to fulfill the role, and even if they're not going, method, they are learning, they're putting their time and they want to have a good character, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
Sigourney Weaver, who played Helen Hudson, actually went to see a forensic psychiatrist called Park Dietz to prepare for her role. He was actually Jeffrey Dahmer's psychiatrist. So she got like real down and dirty with all the details. Holly Hunter spent some time with the LAPD homicide detectives to prepare for her role, and like really dove in. She didn't do the tour beats like they do for the celebrities. She actually went to the station and took rides to like crime scenes. She wasn't deeply involved, but she saw some shit, which is always good. Now into the movie itself. Did you or did you not notice MJ, Holly Hunter's character, had her hair done differently in every single major scene? Did you notice it? Probably not. It was intentional that you didn't notice it.
Not while I was watching the movie, but now that you say that, I did. I do.
The reason is they wanted to keep MJ like professional, so you can tell she's on top of her shit all throughout the movie, right? She's ready, she's prepared, she's smart, but she's also very feminine. So every time you see a different day, a different hour, her hair changes because she is taking care of herself.
I like that. That's more realistic. It's,
Yeah.
you
Harry Connick Jr. said in an interview that the director specifically asked him to come up with a different name for women's panties. You know that scene where he talks to the doc via a video feed? He came up with the version squirrel covers because it's something that he took from his like brother-in-law or something. He found it funny and he brought it to the director, and the director said, yeah, just go for it.
Can you hear my dog? I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
it's fine.
I don't know what his
You got a good
issue
mic.
is.
You got a good mic. Is it
Yeah.
a new mic?
No, it's just the HyperX, but he's a Belgian Malinois, and they're really loud. Like if he's right next to me barking, it hurts my ear.
Oh, right.
And he's howling. Great.
I can't hear him, so you're good.
Okay.
Right. When Helen Hudson sends the letter back to whatever serial killer she's talking to, she doesn't know yet. That little bait email that she sends him, she sent it and she says, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a reference to her character in Alien. When there's a moment in Alien, in the first one, where she's trying to escape, but she forgot her cat, Jonesy. And she goes back to him and she says, "Hey, here, kitty, kitty, kitty," to get him back. Now, it's not like it's a famous thing, but it's a small little bit to insert Alien into this.
Kind of like a Easter egg or whatever.
Kind of like Easter egg. There's a moment at the start of the movie where MJ talks to the captain, and the captain says in their conversation that he was involved in the Zodiac case. Mm-hmm. Well, later on, in the movie Zodiac from 2006, I think, or 7, the captain in Zodiac is played by Dermot Mulroney, who plays the partner for Holly Hunter. That's just a little tidbit. Not that they knew in 1995, but it's a little fun tidbit. And also, when MJ kind of leaves after, like, the captain says, just don't talk about serial killers, don't mention serial killers, she goes like, Heil Hitler, right? Well, in the German dubbed version, when they played in Germany, they changed the dubbed version into Yes, Boss, because it is not allowed to have Heil
Yeah.
Hitler in Germany. It is against the law.
You can't even say his name there. Like,
No.
they'll look at you like, I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah.
Don't say his name.
It's so sensitive. It is more sensitive in Germany than in my country. Here you can say whatever you want because black humor is good, I guess. Right. The climatic bathroom scene, the scene at the end, it actually took about 8 days to shoot. Because originally it was MJ, the cop, who got kidnapped, and it was Helen coming to the rescue. But they shot that scene, and then they took just that scene to a test audience, and the test audience was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would Helen, the agoraphobic, would, like, we never see her off her premises, and now that MJ gets kidnapped, now she leaves? No, that's not gonna happen. And they change it to Helen being abducted. When Helen spits at Peter, it was not rehearsed. She actually spat at the actor, William McNamara. Like when Sigourney Weaver spat at him, they didn't rehearse that. It was off the cuff. It was a director's sort of just spit at him and see what happens kind of deal. When he's like having that shock face, that's an actual shock face. And he recuperated and he turned it into anger. And it just, they played off each other, sort of an ad-lib thing, which is always, always good. Sigourney Weaver's stunt woman in that scene actually broke her nose doing the stunts with William McNamara.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And talking about Peter's character, there was a scene shot talking about sort of a flashback scene when Peter was very young to show you the progression of how he became from a young boy into the serial killer. That scene was completely cut away from the movie. Obviously, you didn't see it. But the boy who played young Peter actually stayed as a cast list. If you don't look at the cast list, I didn't even look at it. It's like, oh, really? That's cool. I look back, he is there. The composer, the score was pretty eerie, and the original composer, called John Newton Howard, was approached to do the score, but he said, well, fuck you, I'm going to do something else that makes me more money. I'm going to do Waterworld. So they brought in the actual composer, a person called Christopher Young. He composed the score, and he did such a good job, so the director hired him for the next few projects. The remake of The Man Who Knew Too Much, Entrapment, and The Core. And 2 more tidbits. One, when they had that video call, Darryl Lee Cullum confesses about Peter, and he didn't say Peter Foley. He says Peter Curtin as the name of Peter, and that's an actual serial killer name, but it's from the 1930s. And the serial killer is mostly known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf. I found that fun. And of course, the movie was highly, highly praised by experts in that field for being really true to the material and how things actually work. But there was an incorrect fact. There's a moment there when they talk about Ted Bundy killing 3 people in one night. Well, that didn't actually happen that way. It was actually 2 students who got killed in the Chi Omega sorority, and 2 that got severely injured. However, there are reports that say he did kill 3 people in a place called Lake Samarish or Samarish, something like that. But it's ambiguous. Some reports say he killed 2 people. Some say he killed 3 people. So take it for what it is. I didn't find conclusive evidence, but he didn't kill 3 people at one night, according to all the verifiable facts. That is about it. Cool. Are you still with me, or are you with your dog?
Yeah. No, I turned off my camera
'Cause
because my mom was walking in and out.
All right. Cool. Let's just say hello to the chat, because my inside, like in Restream chat, the chat isn't working. So we'll say hello.
Oh, really?
It's
working on my end.
It's not working. I need to refresh it, and doing a refresh will literally take off the stream. So we'll say hello to Too High Strung. We'll say hello to Talking Trash and Truths, Abomination AJ, T-Rex Tracking, and more. All you guys, thank you for joining us. Like, share, blah, 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 all that good stuff. I hate saying it, but it is what it is. We're living in the YouTube world. Right, cool. You know what? Before we actually begin diving in, because we have such a awesome chat crowd laying in, it's time to play our first game of the night. It is called Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee, for Jessica and for the uninitiated in the chat, is where we take 10 posters of movies, display them, have their text written off, and Jessica will have to guess which movie this is. Don't worry, Jessica. Chat will help you. I just need to set it up. Just give me a moment.
Oh, man.
Don't worry.
I have the worst memory. I literally took notes on the movie because that's how bad my memory is.
You're not. Trust me, I take notes about movies all the time. All the time. All right. Come on, work with me. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Chat participation is most welcome. Please help our Jessica. What is this movie? Jeremy Renner, Christian Bale, Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams, and the other guy from Hangovers. We got our mod in the chat. Paul, I can't display your name because my chat isn't working on Restream. It is American Hustle. This is a long shot. This is a not well-known movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen American Hustle either. Damn,
American
now I gotta
Hustle
watch
is
that.
really good. I know this movie, but I haven't seen it yet. My good buddy, All My Feelings, has recommended it to me. Paul doesn't know. Jessica doesn't know. This is called Beast. Has no beasts in it.
Is that a Yahtzee flag on a knife?
That is a Yahtzee flag. The hand wielding the knife is a Jewish hand, supposedly. I'm not sure the actor is. It's a Quentin Tarantino movie. I'm sure the chat will catch up in a minute. I know Paul knows about this movie. Any guesses? Chat is stomped. It is Too High Strung has it. It is Inglourious Bastards, of course.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie either.
You know what? I fell asleep in this movie twice. Not in the same screening. I saw it once, fell asleep, saw it a second time, different time, fell asleep, same spot. I don't like that movie at all. I like Quentin Tarantino, don't like that movie. I love the first scene only, which is fucking crazy scene. This is, of course, Shakespeare in Love. Thank you, Paul.
Paul's already on it.
Paul's on. That's why he's
Yeah,
modded.
I feel like I haven't seen any of these movies. This is terrible. I'm
It's
sucking at life.
don't trust me. We've seen a few other people that really were stomped on easier films. This movie came out, I think, 1984. And it's very relevant for today because she plays a mermaid in it. Is Daryl Hannah, Tom Hanks, back in the time where Tom Hanks actually, all his movies were like romantic comedies or comedies. This is
I'm gonna Google it. I'm cheating.
Splash.
Oh, I just found it too.
Too high strung. Splash. Now, this is a challenge. I don't expect you to have seen
Ooh.
this, but if you have, good on you. I haven't seen it. This is a very oldie. I'm not going to stay on this too much.
I don't know.
It has hell in the title of it. I don't think you'll be able to Google this fast.
I'm not even trying.
Yeah, chat is stomped. We'll keep going. This is The Legend of Hell House.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I haven't either.
Any of these movies. God, I suck.
Come on. I actually mentioned this movie in this stream. I just mentioned the remake. This is Jimmy Stewart. The girl, I don't remember the name of the girl. The remake is actually with Bill Murray in the title. And the remake was done by the same director as Copycat. This is, chat, The Man Who Knew Too Much. It's a Hitchcock film. This is an old...
I'm gonna have to watch this stream back later just to write down all the names of these movies so that I can watch them.
I can give you a full list.
Give me a full list of movies to watch, because me and waifu, like, when we're bored, we like to hang out and watch movies. So it's perfect.
I mean, the thing is this: if you're bored and want to watch a movie together, do you want to watch like these really weird ass stupid movies style?
That's
like
what we
The
love.
Room? Or okay, I've got a list for you.
Like we try. So I have the Movie Box Pro app where that's where we watch all the movies, and we try to look at all the posters, and we're like, which one looks like it's the most cringe movie that you can watch? And we watch them just to what was the movie, like kill her goats or something like that, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
Oh my god, it looks like it was filmed with just some random people who had an iPhone and filmed it. Yeah. And then like the storyline was so bad. There was a lot of boobs that we saw. I'm assuming that the writer, producer, whatever, he just wanted to see boobs, and he's like, how can I put them in the movie to keep flashing boobs?
I've got a long list for you. Right. This movie is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Classic. This is a terrible movie, but not in a good way. It's Denzel Washington and John Travolta. And this is the first time you see John Travolta bald, but before he admitted he was bald. And after this movie, John Travolta got caught with a masseuse, a male masseuse.
I'll keep my comment to myself. Don't want to get you muted.
Yeah. We're YouTube friendly. We're YouTube.
I'm not on my channel. I'm degenerate as hell.
No. I mean, I curse as much as the next guy, but As far I want to be on the good graces of YouTube because I was monetized and got demonetized for reuse content. I don't use other people's content at all on this channel. So
That they've been doing that a lot to
a lot,
creators, I've
a
heard.
lot. That's why I stopped with highlights, because it's disastrous, because it's the same content reused. That's how they get you. It is the remake of Palin 1, 2, 3. That is correct. Right. Last one.
James Bond?
James Bond is correct.
I don't know which one though.
Okay.
But I know I've watched it because I watched most of the James Bond movies for sure. If not all. I haven't watched the newest ones, but I've watched all the old ones with my dad.
Yeah, the old ones are way better. I mean, a lot of people love Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, but to be perfectly honest, GoldenEye was probably the best. It's the first and the best. The other one's not as. This one is not as good because, I forgot her name. The chick in the tank top. She was in Starship Troopers. She was Charlie Sheen's wife for a bit. I forgot her name. Literally, she does OnlyFans with her daughter right now. I forgot her name. Chat will probably know. She
That's
played a hot nuclear scientist. It is Denise Richards, and it is, of course, The World Is Not Enough. The song by Madonna. Was a great song. Terrible movie. Just terrible. All right, cool. Why don't we just dive into the movie itself? Right. So, first of all, we start off with a pretty tame. The whole movie is really, really tame until like the killings start. I actually remember the order a little bit different, but that's just stuff. I haven't seen this movie in a long while till I watched it this week. I watched it a couple of times actually. Movies that I've seen before, I try to watch them maybe just once to gloss over because I remember a lot. But for some, I need to like rewatch, make sure I watch all the different things, catch all the Easter eggs. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I remember it to be like an hour and a half movie. It's a 2-hour movie, and it moves really slow in the first half hour. Kind of like really, really slow. So we get this first scene. Did you manage to catch the killer in this one?
Yeah, when he was in the crowd.
Yeah. He's not the only guy who is in the crowd. The actual copycat killer is also in the crowd. But when he stands, he's one of those guys who's not front and center. He's a little bit to like the left or right, and he's a little bit in the shadows, but he's actually there. So it's sort of an Easter egg that I kind of missed, but on the second viewing, when I try to look for things, it's like, oh shit, he's there. He's right there. And he's also in another scene, but it's sort of blink and you'll miss it, and you don't actually see the back of his head. So you get the first introduction. You get to see Helen. What happens to her? She gets caught with Daryl Cullum doing his bit, being supremely scary. And if the whole point of Harry Connick Jr. is the fact that everybody knew him as this really nice guy, like he was nice, approachable guy beyond the music. On interviews, you see him before 1995 and even after 1995. He's like really calm, like cool, kind of soft-spoken kind of a guy. And here, like, oh shit, he is scary. And that's why he got praised so much for doing this role. And let me catch a glimpse of like how scary it can be without too much blood in it. Let's say this. So he's like a real menace. And of course, cut to, we don't know if he kills her or not. Cut to 13 months later. She's in her safety of her own home. She's not dead, obviously. And we see her try.
I had to
Uh,
rewatch that part, like the beginning, the first like maybe 30 minutes. I had to rewatch it 3 times because my brain was not functioning. I was so confused, and then I was like, "Oh, duh."
yeah, it is really like it's super slow at the beginning. And when you go to like, you go to her house and it's like, oh, she's pilled up. What's going on? How did she survive? Is he dead? Is he not? What the fuck is going on? And
Mhm.
suddenly you're like, okay, it's a shooting range for some reason. I mean, like I said, the first 30, like 40 minutes, it's a bit of a strange one because you don't know what the hell is going on because you see that opening scene, which is like super emotional, super crazy. And then you get these two guys just running their mouth, talking about donuts, talking about food, and doing the shooting range. And just to give you a badass on how these guys kind of operate, it's just, two cops, two partners doing their thing, having a little bit of a banter between the two. And then, of course, the first murder. And then you get with the first murder, what you get is a little bit of taste on how MJ actually operates. If you
Mhm.
noticed, she talks to the cop, did you touch anything? Walks around the room, then goes back to the same cop and is like, "Are you sure you didn't touch anything?" And you're standing there, you're looking at it a bit confused, like, why is she asking him specifically? It's because it's to tell you that it's she's been there before, so she knows what to ask and she knows where the emphasis, the point, because she wants to catch this killer, right? They
Mhm.
don't know yet it's a serial killer. They kind of suspect it is, but they don't actually know. She wants to be sure that she has all the evidence because she wants to get her man, right?
Yep.
And of course she sends poor old Ruben to deal with with the witness, with the riffraff, while she does the most exciting thing, which is look at the scene, trying to test things out, talk to the actual cops, making sure she's got the evidence, and then we move on.
I will say I did misjudge her at first, like like at the shooting range, because that's where they first introduce you to her. I was like, she sounds like a smart ass. Let's see how smart she actually is, though. Because like there's those people that like they're smart asses, but they're actually dumbass rocks. And then there's like the smart asses that are actually smart. And she's one of the smart asses that's actually smart. Like through the movie you get to see like her techniques and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's an actual smart ass, not the ones that fake it to hype themselves up to make
Yeah,
themselves look better.
and did you notice she sometimes kind of plays the dumb and kind of lures
Mhm.
you into to say something you didn't want, and then she comes up with, "Oh, but this, that, and the other," and you're like, "Oh shit, she's on top of it." And that's actually characters that I actually like, and it doesn't really matter if they're male or female, just to have that character that kind of everybody puts down because of either their height, because she's very short, and you notice that she's very short with a lot of men around. She is a female in a male environment, which is, it's a cop area or army, that sort of agenda. You wouldn't expect anything out of her, and she plays up to that where you don't expect anything, and she's being like sarcastic and being like sort of an asshole. It was like, oh shit, she's on top of it and I don't know shit.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that they do have, like I said, it's very slow because you have the scenes like with Nicoletti kind of interviewing this guy, and the first couple of sentences he says is like, nah, I don't think a killer of that magnitude would come forward this. So
Yeah.
I didn't believe you right from the start. And you can tell from Nicoletti, yeah, even before he said, well, you already confessed to like 5 murders. Just get out of here, right? Kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
And yeah, the guy was seriously unbelievable, but it plays off nicely because all the crazy one, it's like call-ins to say I did it. The problem is sometimes serial killers actually call and say, yeah, I did it, but they always give you some sort of a detail that was not released to the press just to make sure the cops know, oh, I beat you again. And
Mhm.
sometimes those are the calls, or like the notes that they leave actually lead to them being caught. Are you I didn't ask you before, before we started the stream, are you into like true crime stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
So this movie was really up your alley in terms of like serial killer profiling
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
That's why when you sent me the list, I saw it because I saw your category for August and I was like,
Yeah.
ooh. And then I looked at the movies that were available and then I looked at this one and I was like, this one should be fun.
Yeah.
So
And
I did enjoy it. It was a good movie.
good, good. And again, we mentioned this. We have that little banter between MJ and the captain, and it seems like the captain is like really apprehensive when it comes to like the media, and
Mhm.
MJ is all about like catching the dude. So
She's like hyper focused on.
she's hyper focused on solving a crime. She wants to
Mhm.
do this, and of course, uh, that whole we see a little bit of a flashback on the trial of Daryl Lee Cullum, and MJ's like, she's the woman I need to talk to. So both Ruben and her go to her apartment. They meet her gay butler or whatever, and they sort of confront Helen with a lot of photos. And this is where MJ's sort of a smart aleck thing comes into fruition. Let me just leave these pictures around and you
Mhm.
tell me what you think. Sort of you tell me your expertise, kind of coming from lower down or a peg down, but really she knows what she's doing. And she knew Helen would be curious because she that's her whole research, that's her
That
whole
was her
life.
niche.
That's
Yeah.
her that's completely her niche, and this is what activates her like curiosity tablets, even though she has like a full-on meltdown.
Yeah, she had like a anxiety attack when
Yeah, a full-on anxiety attack. There's a moment there where she was literally on the floor
Mhm.
huffing and puffing into this bag, and her butler's like, don't worry about it, it's fine, she'll be fine in a few minutes, don't worry, just leave the pictures.
She's just being dramatic. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. She's overly dramatic. Just leave the pictures here. I'll make sure she watches them and she'll give you an answer. So he's fully aware of her like curiosity and how she sort of operates.
But her fear of going outside.
Yes,
That was strange.
I kind of skipped that. There's a moment there where the butler isn't there, and she tries to get her paper, but the paper is just a little bit too far from
Mhm.
her doorstep. She's like, "Fuck this guy, this delivery guy. I told him 17 times to bring it closer," and she tries to get it, and it's just to give you the sense of what happens if she leaves her house. Like for us as viewers of this movie, you can't really convey agoraphobia apart from, oh, I'm just seeing like stars and whatever when I try to go out in my house. It's sort of a severe kind of version of agoraphobia.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees the pictures, she kind of gets curious, and she has this weird, we have sort of a weird, kind of a stalker-ish moment where we see her in her house, but from the outside perspective, with that sort of a creepy music coming in. And I think I can show this. Yeah, right. So this whole scene where she wants to take out the new dress. She takes out this, I think this is a purple or whatever dress out of her closet. We see that red dress in between her clothes, and have that little sort of a musical cue that, oh, we need to make sure we look at that red dress. She goes away, takes the shower. That whole shower scene is there to give us the whole Hitchcock movie, the whole like Psycho. Have you seen Psycho, the original version, or at least the shower scene? So it kind of gives us that, oh, is she going to get it in the shower? No, she doesn't. But when she goes out, she sees that red dress strewn across her bed, and she's like, did I do this? Did I not do this? But for us as the viewers, we're like, you definitely had a different dress. Unless I blinked and I missed it. She had a completely different dress.
Yeah.
My question is to you, did you notice what color dress did she actually use? When like she put a dress on her bed and then she goes to the shower, has that shower scene.
Wasn't it like it was like a darker colored
It
one,
was a
wasn't
darker
it?
color, right?
Uh-huh.
So us as viewers, we actually noticed the color, but she's like, she did like a double take. And for us, we know the guy who was creeping out. We still don't know it's the same serial killer, but we do know there's a creepy guy looking at her. He was in her house for sure.
But see, that also makes me, it's like, you went through a traumatic event in that dress. Why would you keep it?
Exactly my question. Why,
Why do you still have it?
Yeah, why didn't you just burn it? Or just throw it away? She didn't not only kept the dress, at the end scene you see, she also kept the shoes, which is, if you would throw something, I would say throw the dress, maybe keep the shoes, but the shoes go with the dress, so chuck them both.
I don't know, man. If I have an outfit and it's associated with a negative memory, I'm like, all right, can't wear this anymore. Or I donate it. I'm like, nope.
Yeah. This dress
bad
has
juju.
bad juju. It's bad juju. So of course, she gets intrigued by the pictures, and then she calls back MJ and Ruben, and they have that little talk. She's like, look at this. This is staged. This is this. And they come to the fact that, oh, and she mentions the stockings, right? She mentions the fact that everything is the same. Did you find the stockings? And MJ is like, why do you say that? And then she shows the two pictures of the Boston Strangler picture and this picture. Is like, oh, these are connected. And this is where to me, this is where the movie kind of ramps it up another gear into like, oh, this is a thriller. This now kind of goes into this weird cat and mouse thing where you don't know which one is the cat and which one is the mouse. Because sometimes it's the serial killer who's the cat. Sometimes the cops and Helen who are the cat trying to catch that elusive serial killer. Right. A little swig of the old mega pint.
Is that tea with milk? What is it?
All coffee, baby.
All coffee?
Yeah. It's like stupid instant coffee, but it's a good substitute for
instant
for
coffee works wonders. Okay, especially when you only have like the hot water or the water cooler at work and it has like the
Yeah.
hot water or the cold water. I'm like, well, I don't want to share my coffee pot with anyone, so instant coffee, stick it in my purse, and
Yeah, for me, the everyday is instant coffee, hot or cold. This time is cold. It can't have it hot right now because it's too hot here, even with the AC. But literally, I have a machine, and when I want like decent coffee, I have one here, and I have like a little one at work. When I want some decent coffee, ground my own beans, and just either take it to work or just use them here and get some like good coffee on. Because I'm a serious caffeine
I
addict.
refuse to put one at work because the employees will take advantage of it.
Yeah. The thing is, my office is like a two-man office, and the other guy isn't drinking coffee that much, so
Oh yeah, see, you're lucky.
it's not a big deal.
The big box of forks, okay? I'll order it. Comes in on Monday. By Thursday, I have to make another order. I'm like, are you taking it home to your, taking like a handful home to your family? Like, geez.
Yeah. Yep. I know it. I know it. Literally I can see the office, the other people's office kitchenette, and it goes like in 3 days it goes like to zero. So for us, the work week is like Sunday to Thursday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's okay. But then Wednesday, Thursday, there's nothing.
Oh, that
Absolutely
sucks.
nothing. And it's every man or every woman for herself. All right. Back to the thing. So, of course, this goes into we have that whole scene where the
Mhm.
copycat killer is filming this hippie chick that we kind of know he's targeting her at some point. He sends that email to Helen where she watches it, and then it kind of ends with this whole morphing thing. I actually used a software back in the day that does that shit. It's very rudimentary and it's very fun to play with, but the render is literally like 48 hours. It takes about 48 hours to create like 5 seconds of it, but it was really fun to have. And then we see him, and this is a site from him where we see kind of him for the very first time. You see him interacting with his wife or mother. We don't actually know because it's not being it. They don't tell us that much. They kind of look like they're the same age, but we don't really know. So they don't when they kiss. It's sort of a peck on the cheek kind of thing, where again you don't know if it's the wife or the mother. I always assumed it's his mother, and she had him when she was very young because she doesn't look very, very old.
Mhm.
I was wondering what did you think? Is it his wife or his mother?
I That's what I was wondering when I was watching it too. I don't
Because, like I said, she doesn't look particularly young,
Yeah, and she
and she
doesn't look
doesn't look
old
particularly
either.
old. So it's sort of a midway.
But she does look older than him, so
Yes. Yes. So I always thought it was his wife, but I don't actually know. I keep going back and forth. I thought it was his mother because
does
when
it
you get to
say in,
serial
like, the
killers,
film credits somewhere?
hmm,
Does it say in the film credits somewhere, like,
I
what her role was?
I don't even remember looking at the credits other
Oh,
than
okay.
looking at the young Peter. I can look later. Um, but the whole point is they have sort of the same sort of codependent relationship that you see with serial killers and usually their mom, where you see an overbearing mom and no dad in the house, kind of a typical stereotypical thing for a serial killer environment to have. What a shocker. And then he sort of placates her, goes downstairs, and he goes into this soft spoken mode, into this creepy soft spoken word where he's like opening up a little bit of a slit just so she can have that little final breath. It's like, oh, this is gonna hurt badly. Yeah, and we already know from the email it's coming. And of course, I skipped over the fact that Ruben kind of stays over with Helen, and in the morning before they get to the body, we see Nico and Ruben kind of have a little, kind
I'll
of
be
a
back. Give me
spat.
one
Yeah,
moment.
it's no worry. I'll keep going, guys.
She
We have
left
a
the door open.
yeah, no problem. Just go and I'll be back. So the whole point is we see Nico and Ruben kind of talking, arguing about the fact that Ruben has stayed overnight. Nico, always after MJ, thinks he has a thing for MJ, doesn't know about Helen, and Ruben doesn't give away too much information as well. And they have sort of a cockfight kind of a thing, but it's all about that's not a Malamoir. I said that's not a Malamoir.
Oh yeah, this is the baby. I guess she didn't close the door because he was sleeping in the middle of the doorway. So I just grabbed him. He usually just chills in my lap when I'm streaming and he
Yeah, it's fine.
sleeps, so it's fine.
It's all good. I was just saying Nico and Ruben had that little spat before they get to that body of the hippie chick. And because Nico thinks Ruben was with MJ because he came in with that suit from yesterday and a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. And so he immediately assumes that. But Ruben doesn't give away. He doesn't say, well, I was at Helen's. He just doesn't want to say nothing. And have sort of this cockfight. And MJ's like, could you just not do it in front of the media? Because you have a homicide here.
Yeah.
And of course, as they immediately call Helen. They have her on the phone. It's like, oh shit, what do we have here? And they describe the scene, and Helen goes through lots and lots. I can't show everything. I can show this, but she goes through a bunch of little photos of murder sites. And it's like, oh, is there a no dumping allowed thing here? And they say yes. And immediately she makes the contact. Well, this is a different serial killer. So they don't even know what's going on. Because serial killers typically or stereotypically do not change a method. They have sort of the first one is normally kind of a not set on the method, maybe the second one as well. But as they go through more and more bodies, they have their thing. So it's power-based, or it's sexual-based, or it's fear-based. And then they have their own method of killing, and they kind of stick to it because it's their thing. It's their, I don't know, their kink, okay? It's their derangement. It's their deviancy. And having sort of a different method saying what's going on here, and they kind of come up with the idea of a copycat killer. And immediately it goes into the news, right? And you're like, there's already a problem here, right? There's already a problem here where how did it come to the news being not only that they say copycat killer with a question mark, they also involved Helen's name for some reason. And she gets annoyed. It's like, I don't want to do I don't want to help you. I don't want anything. I got this weird email. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm done. I'm out of the case. I'm not helping you anymore. And MJ's kind of disappointed because she was counting on Helen to help her out. And you can see Helen being annoyed by the fact that she's being stalked through her chess game. And you can see the height difference between Helen and MJ. That's actually, it's like Sigourney Weaver is about 6 feet tall and Holly Hunter is 5 feet. It's like she's a really small person. So that sort of, they tried throughout the movie to make sure every time MJ is standing to have Helen sitting to make sure they're just about the same height, but it doesn't happen all the time. And you can see how tall and how towering Helen is over MJ, even though MJ is more in control, right?
Yeah.
And of course, they start to deal with the fact that they might be dealing with a copycat. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, there's an APB out for a serial killer. They're talking about, I think they got the letter about doing 3 a night or 2 a night, sort of a, oh no, sorry, they got the note here, I think, if I remember correctly. See, my Swiss cheese brain is always kind of going back and forth. We get this, and this is a recreation of yet another serial killer, Son of Sam, David Berkowitz.
But
And
see, that scene too, I questioned the girl in the car. I'm like, first of all, it's nighttime. You're by yourself and you're at a gas station.
Yeah.
Don't open the window for a man. What's wrong with you? Or a stranger. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but the thing is with most serial killer, especially Ted Bundy, is the fact that he is a good-looking guy. That always tricks it, because we're drawn to good-looking people because we put on them some sort of a idealized that, oh, he's good-looking, he's not gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of like serious, let's say, pedo shit is because most of it is not coming from strangers. Mostly is like in family. So people we trust. So an uncle, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister. So people we trust, or people we sort of inherently trust, which is beautiful people. Take it or leave it. We kind of trust beautiful people. That's why celebrities are so high up in sort of the food chain of what we set up to being idealized as these people, where they're just like any other guy. They just have an opportunity and a platform to make sure they get their voice out. But generally speaking, they're just like us. But we trust them because they're quote unquote beautiful. And for Ted Bundy, he usually wore a cast. We talked about this when we talked about Silence of the Lambs. Wild Bill, he was quite ugly, but he was unassuming because he was an invalid. He was injured. He had that little cast, so he can't hurt me if he already has a cast on his arm. And that's how it kind of works. And here, Peter seems unassuming. He was, after the whole scene is, she was there with a bunch of like bikers and truck drivers. And here comes this nerdy guy who just, says hello and unassuming. Oh, excuse me. So he's immediately non-threatening, and boom, he turns on her. And of course, when MJ talks to Helen, even though Helen really, at this point, really didn't want to be a part of this, she's drawn out to this like a moth to a flame. And you got MJ realizing, yeah, this is Son of Sam. Even she was smart enough to see, oh, this is going the route of, okay, he's doing this and this and that. So this is a greatest hits thing. And Ruben gets that note talking about doing 2 a night, maybe. They don't say 2 a night, but it's like doing a twosome or maybe even a threesome, talking about like sexual things. And the innuendo is doing 2 or 3 a night. But it doesn't really come into fruition, because you have that moment where Helen kind of realizes there's a burglar in the house. We can see the burglar in the house. She gets totally scared. The cop that they put in front of her door just goes out and tries to help with the fucking alarm system for some car. Of course, gets reprimanded and leaves Helen like, if she didn't want to do it in the first place, now she really, really doesn't want to cooperate with MJ. And it's like, this man was in my house. I'm like done. Just put a guard in the door. I'm done. And she's not really done. But of course, after the whole burglary thing, we see her talk with MJ, and she confesses about that dress, that changing of the dress, because she thought it was all the booze and the drugs that she's taking. But now she's realizing, no, he was here like from the beginning, and he's messing with me. She is a complete fucking wreck, and nothing really helps. Comes the morning, when she cools down, she kind of reverts back to like this investigative Helen, where she talks and she's trying to figure out with MJ what's next. And why what's next? Just to make sure that people are aware about the threesome. So they go into these colleges, they talk about the guy who might be showing, they try to warn everybody, and they have to involve the media. It's just too far gone. They have to involve the media. But then, of course, with all the protection, with all the stuff, Helen gets sent this.
Oh yeah, that was.
And I don't know about you, but if my wife saw one ant, in the bed, that bed would not be slept in unless I change my sheets. Now, you would think after being burglarized, tight security and all that stuff, and he still got in there. He still got in there to leave a memento of that finger. And oh boy. And of course, at that point, kind of Helen decides we need to deal with this. And why? Because the book is the Daryl Lee Cullum book. So they have to call Daryl Lee on the phone and do the worst thing possible and just talk to a serial guy, right? So the whole point in this is they got the book from Daryl Lee. That's what he left. And they make the connection with Daryl Lee. And of course, he's sort of like, yeah, I have disciples out there. He's one of my disciples. I told him to, I don't know, do his worst. Give me a gift, right?
See, this part was interesting too, because did they even have video chatting like that? I don't remember them having that. They didn't have Skype until like what, the mid 2000s or mid early 2000s.
What they did was, first of all, they didn't have a camera on Helen.
Yeah.
So he only heard her and she could watch him. The whole point is the video is done by a camera and the conversation is over the phone.
Oh, okay.
The problem is if you do that, the video and the phone don't actually sync
up.
like
Yeah.
in real life at that specific time. But for the movie, it had to work because when he goes like, I want you to give me your panties, tell me what you think, blah, blah, blah. When he kind of does that whole seduction, but I want to kill you kind of vibe where he goes into like creepy mode, you have to have it on screen. You have to see his face. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked the same. And you do have that visceral thing where when they shoot Helen and MJ, it's like us looking at them through the video camera or the video link, and then cut to Daryl Lee looking at sort of a blank screen, but he's looking into the camera as if he's looking into Helen's eyes to make sure she looks into his eyes. Because he has that sort of a love-hate relationship with her. It's a weird one. And to me, the whole point of Helen is that she has this sort of an arc where when you see her for the very first time, she can't deal with anything. But as time passes, she can deal with more and more creepy stuff and more crazy stuff. Even though, remember, they just, at the beginning of the movie, they just showed her picture and she goes into this panic attack. However, when the guy's in her house, she doesn't faint she has sort of a panic attack, but she doesn't faint or she doesn't huff through this like paper bag where you would expect her to just be completely helpless. The thing is, it's in her house, so it's not like her agoraphobia is acting up, but I don't know. For me, it was just a little bit too soon, too fast from collapsing panic on the floor from a couple of pictures to, oh, there's an intruder in the house, so I'm a little bit crazy, but I'll be fine in about 20 minutes. But for movie purposes, yeah, you just have to. Otherwise, you'll have one character that is essential to the story, kind of progressing the plot, but fainting every like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because we have sort of a three-pronged protagonist where you have the two females and the one male kind of protagonist, Ruben, you have to take Ruben out of the equation because otherwise that last scene wouldn't make any sense. That's to me sort of this whole next scene where the Chinese dude kind of gets released because of Nico's mistake, and then Ruben sort of she saves him like she did in the range, but then she doesn't save him because it's not like the range where you shoot the target and then it's neutralized. The guy can come back if he's not dead. He just shot in the shoulder, and Ruben gets killed. So he's out of this equation in terms of the movie or the movie plot, where it's sort of, to me, sort of contrived how they took him out. So what did you think, Jessica? What did Ruben need to die in this movie?
No.
No, because he's a good-looking guy.
No, that scene, like, yeah, okay, I get it. The criminal got a hold of the gun and he spurred out and he shot him.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't really get the point of that scene. Like, why did that scene have to happen and him
Like I said,
die?
the only
You
point to
know?
me, I mean, Ruben didn't do much in terms of like progressing the story, right? He was just
True.
there at times, and both Helen and MJ kind of progressed that storyline. Ruben is the guy who went to get the letter, but another cop could have gotten the letter regardless. The whole point is to take him out. Otherwise, you would have both MJ and Ruben storming into that bathroom rather than just the one cop,
Yeah.
right? So you had to take out Ruben. The only point is, why kill him? That's a part of the movie where, in terms of storyline, that I didn't get because Ruben died, you have this scene with Nico that you could have literally skipped because it has nothing to do with the rest of the story. Because Nico being like feeling responsible, you get to see sort of the dynamic between, Nico kind of loves MJ. He was always like, they were together, then they broke up, and he always like creeps out on her and being overly protective, even though he's not supposed to. And then he intrudes into her life, even though he quite obviously got rejected. And this whole scene contributes nothing to the serial killer. Absolutely nothing. Because then Nico leaves and you don't get to see him through the movie. So I just, for me, this was the weakest point. Ruben being taken out, he could have just being shot and taken to the hospital, be done with. They had to kill him and do this scene with Nico. It's like, oh, I feel sorry, blah, 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 and I'm off the force, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. That's about it. So that's the lowest point in terms of storyline in this movie. And my voice gets broken up. All right. So let me just, no, can't do that. Fucking YouTube's nail me for this. So MJ says, if you're firing Nico, I'll just resign. And the captain's like, you don't understand. I'm not going to lose like 3 people in one night. It's like, you have to take care of this. It wasn't your responsibility. You done what you were trained to do. You tried to save Ruben. You tried to save the situation. Didn't quite work out. It doesn't mean you have to resign. Plus, it's the SFPD. We don't have a lot of cops anyway. So, MJ kind of goes to Helen, talks about the fact that, this is before. So what the fuck, LVLC? Oh, no, it's after. She goes to Helen. She tells her about Ruben being dead, and we see Peter going after Helen's butler. And he pulls out not a Ted Bundy, but it pulls out a Dahmer, where it's not only a gay thing, it's also a beheading thing. So he pulls out a Dahmer instead of a Ted Bundy, even though we kind of know Peter has the same VW bug that Ted Bundy has, because he wants to be a copycat and, do all the greats or the greatest hits. We see Peter killing, or not killing, but just suffocating the butler in an alley because, that's what you do. Right. And
But he does at least.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want to go into the whole gay clubbing scene in San Francisco. I think everybody knows about it. It's been there since forever. Since the 60s, probably even earlier than that. Everybody knows San Francisco is a big gay mecca, especially in the Tenderloins, yada, yada, yada. It seems to be too easy because, again, Peter is a nerdy guy, a sort of a good-looking guy. But you can see where there's a moment there where he goes with the 2 drinks, kind of like looking loose. Somebody bumps him. And he goes like super ape shit. It's like, you fucking bitch. But then he kind of remembers he needs to be cool, calm, and collective. And he goes into the role to seduce this butler guy, where he puts some, I don't know, GHB into this drink or whatever. We'll call it the Cosby drug.
Right.
And of course, like I said, Helen, at a certain point, she has that little change where she goes from being super passive into a little bit more aggressive. So she sends out that email, says, here, kitty, 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 kind of trying to bait him to actually activate. Whereas everybody's focused on, is he going to do a threesome? However, he does something completely different with the Dahmer stuff, and then he goes after Helen. And this is the point where we actually do a stop, because we're going to play our second game of the night. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round one, fight.
Screen Fighter 4, Jessica, and the people in the chat who are uninitiated is where we take two movies in a vacuum, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good or both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other, or just sitting around in Discord. We've got two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pick? So, here we go. And of course, chat participation is most welcome. And hey, Jacob, Oh My Feelings is looking great. Yeah, dude, it's all good. Right, Jessica, Iron Man or Saturday Night Fever? Hopefully you've seen it. If not, definitely watch it.
So here's what I was going to say. I would pick Saturday Night Fever to watch because I've already seen Iron Man, and then I would decide which one was the worst.
Okay. Chat says Iron Man. Now, Saturday Night Fever would definitely go on the list of cheesy movies to watch. It's not necessarily bad, but the whole movie is about the disco era of the time. So if you like the Bee Gees, it is all Bee Gees all the time in that movie, right? So Saturday Night Fever is a cheesy movie to watch. Of the two, definitely I would watch Iron Man as the better movie. It's just constructed better. It's probably the best of the MCU movies, if not the best of the MCU movies, although some people say Infinity War is best, or I don't know, Winter Soldier is the best. My personal favorite is Iron Man. So I'm going to watch Iron Man. Now, this could be any two movies from any era. So, When Harry Met Sally or The Rocky Horror Picture Show? Please tell me you've seen The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I have.
Good. Which one will you pick?
I'm going to have to go with the Rocky Horror Picture Show because I don't like the sappy romantic movies.
All right. Jacob says When Harry Met Sally.
Oh.
I'm gonna actually say When Harry Met Sally, because, and this is a key information here, I hate the Rocky Horror Picture Show with a passion. The only way for me to watch that movie is literally going out to a theater, getting dressed in one of the costumes, and watching it with a bunch of people doing Rocky Horror Picture Show cosplay. Otherwise, I fucking hate this movie. I hate musicals. I just don't like them at all. I like one song from this movie, but I like it as a song rather than just as a part of the movie. Otherwise, I realize it's like cultural significance, but I wouldn't necessarily watch it. Paul says Rocky Horror Picture Show. All My Feelings would have said Rocky Horror Picture Show, by the way. Right. Resident Evil Apocalypse or Kindergarten Cop? What say you, chat? What do you think, Jessica?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Reason?
I just really like that movie.
Okay, that's cool. That's no problem. One of my best friends from Holland, he's called Safira. He's not here in the chat today, but Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich, all of them, it's like in his top 20 of all time, just because he loves Resident Evil. I would go with Kindergarten Cop because it's not a tumor. Chat says, and I hold Jacob at the highest respects of movie reviews. He says Resident Evil. Orange County.
Agreed on something.
Hmm?
Me and Jacob finally agreed on something.
Orange County or Days of Thunder. Have you seen Orange County?
No, I haven't seen either of
Probably not.
these.
You haven't seen either of these? Wow.
Mm-mm.
Have you seen Master and Commander?
Nope.
Right. Me and chat agree. It's Days of Thunder. Have you seen Talladega Nights
Yeah.
with Will Ferrell? So
Mhm.
the serious version of Talladega Nights is Days of Thunder. It's about NASCAR. Gone with the Wind or Boyfriends of Christmas Past?
I haven't seen the Boyfriends of Christmas Past, so Gone with the Wind.
We'll switch it. Pacific Rim
Okay.
or Gone with the Wind? Still Gone with the Wind?
Still Gone with the Wind because I haven't seen that either.
I've seen Pacific Rim. I would much rather watch a 3.5 movie from 1939. No
Okay,
joke.
cool.
Right.
Cool. So then we agree on something then.
No, I haven't seen Charades, but okay. Right. The Blair Witch Project or Original Halloween?
The original Halloween.
Yes. Original Halloween. It is for
Mhm.
me. I absolutely detest the Blair Witch Project. It is responsible for bringing the age of the found footage kind of era. To me, it's Halloween. Right. We'll do a couple more. Best in Show or The Last Action Hero?
Haven't seen either of these.
Oh. First of all, you can skip Best in Show. It's about a dog, like a dog competition. I
A
love
show
dogs.
dog?
A show dog competition.
I love dogs, but I wouldn't watch.
I
the movie.
love dogs, but I hate show dogs competition. And the movie itself is really, really weird. And it is, I don't know who it was made for. Maybe even people who like show dogs.
The
Last
weirdos.
Action Heroes, even though it was critically panned at the time, is really, really good. You can add that to your like cheesy list because it makes fun of action heroes. It makes fun of Schwarzenegger, and Schwarzenegger makes
he's
fun
in it?
of himself in the movie.
Oh, I have to watch
It
that
is
then.
so
Self-roasting
good.
is
It
great.
is really, really good. And it's good, but it's cheesy at the same time. Right. Eyes Wide Shut, which is the last Kubrick movie, and Annie Hall. Last pairing we're going to do. Yeah, they're both not as good. Even though Annie, and you know what? Annie Hall has the bad reputation of winning the Oscar, like for Best Picture, the same year as Star Wars, like original Star Wars.
Wow.
They were both nominated. Annie Hall won. Chat says Kubrick. What do you think, Jessica? There's no wrong answers because we all make mistakes.
I don't know.
I mean, would
That's
you
a
rather
tough one.
watch Woody Allen or a bunch of people naked? And Tom Cruise.
It depends.
Oh,
It depends. Are those bunch of people naked? Do they have good bodies or are they fat?
you
Obese.
probably haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut. They are
No.
slim and beautiful.
Then Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. It is Eyes Wide Shut for me.
I'm fat phobic, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. You people.
I'm a
Just
bigot.
Just kidding. All right, let me just close this. Of course, I closed
Nicole
the fucking
Kidman?
movie again. Nicole Kidman was really naked in that one. And she was really thin too. Where am I? I
She was a
closed
lot
down the
younger, so
movie.
she was prettier too.
She was. But she was much older at the time, but you don't actually see, it doesn't come across. She doesn't look old. She looks very slim, we'll call it.
I had to look up a picture of her in that movie. Oh, yeah, she looks good.
She looks really good in that movie.
Looks good.
All right, so back to the old movie, and we'll flip this thing on as MJ is preparing to go out and do the SWAT thing. So from Daryl Lee Cullum saying the name Peter Curtin, they kind of infer, they get a little bit of a from the club. The butler had a gay partner or a gay friend, so from him they kind of get a sketch of the guy. They realize, oh, it's not Peter Curtin, it's Peter Foley. They go in and it's like, oh, we found his house. We know where he works, blah, blah, blah. And they go and raid his house as, of course, the captain is saying to MJ, just relax, don't worry about it. We'll get through this and we'll get our man. Just don't get hurt again, or don't get hurt at all. And of course, as they go in to the house, if you ever watched Silence of the Lambs, they go into the house. The house is very sort of dark, not overly dark, but a little bit dark. He's waiting, sort of like, oh, is he waiting for them? Is he not waiting for them? And of course, they get to the house. The mother or wife is dead. And there's a fire started in the basement. Everything goes up into flames. They barely make it out, and all the evidence is up in smoke. Like, they expected to get any evidence from the house, can't get anything done. They barely see sort of glimpses of the thing, but of course, they get a message. MJ goes back to Helen. She sees the dead cop, and then she sees the message from Mr. Peter Foley, and she realizes, oh, he's going to copycat Daryl Lee Cullum, but he's trying to sort of succeed this time. And like I said, the climactic scene is literally the first scene in the movie, where it kind of bookends the first scene, kind of, because we see the first scene is literally her talking, but it's a prelude to the attack. So we get the attack on one bookend and the conclusion with another attack on the other one, where they both, because it's a copycat, he's trying to mirror the first scene. But what Peter's trying to do is make sure Helen is dead at the end of it, along with the cop that was supposed to like save Helen, but ultimately the second cop saved Helen, but Peter knows the second cop is coming. That's why he left the message for MJ. And that's why Ruben had to be taken out in terms of storyline, because you have to have one cop. Easter egg. Easter egg. Do you remember which cop he actually kills in that bathroom? Because you might have missed it if you only watched it one time. And a lot of people who, and this is including me, I haven't watched Copycat in a long while. I completely forgot the guy who he kills in the bathroom.
Wasn't it the one that she asked in the beginning, did you touch anything?
Correct.
Wasn't it him?
It is the same guy. And now you understand in terms of like how the movie is constructed, why she asked him twice, because we needed to see the cop again. By the way, he pops it again in the middle of the movie as the extra security for Helen. Sort of like when the first cop fucks up, they bring in two cops on the first night to have on the first rotation. He was one of the first. He's not there to get murdered, but he's there to get abducted and brought to that last sort of scene to be actually executed in terms of making sure the scene looks the same.
Mhm.
But of course, like we said, Helen has that sort of a arc where she kind of overcomes her agoraphobia and her anxieties to be a little bit more aggressive. That's why she spits in Peter's face. That's why she sort of tries to kill herself to make sure his attention is grabbed to her, because she needs to die sort of last in his master plan. He first needs to kill the cop, otherwise it wouldn't be sort of a copycat killing. She tries to kill herself. He's kind of dealing with her. And of course, they wrestle. She sticks a fucking mirror in his thigh, kind of making sure, even though MJ, she gets in, she gets shot at first. She gets to recuperate, and then, of course, she runs away. And where does Helen run away? Outside into the corridor, where everything is still in sort of a vertigo mode, but she overcomes it, gets out into the sort of the roof of the building, and when he confronts her, either she realizes MJ's on the way, or kind of like laughing is like, oh, I have nowhere to go. I'm laughing because it's the last sort of defiance in front of death when he comes for her. In that roof where she calls him like sort of a limp dick motherfucker. Not in those terms, but I like to call it limp dick motherfucker. And MJ comes from around the back and just executes the motherfucker. And that kind of ends the movie, but not really. Because we get sort of if we said the first kind of attack is one bookend and the other attack is the other bookend of this movie, the movie itself, or the book itself, stays open, because on the last page or on the last scene of the movie, we actually see Daryl Lee talking to his disciples, talking about how Peter got it wrong and overextended himself, but the next guy or the next guy and the next guy will get to enact revenge on Helen in the service of Daryl Lee Cullum. And his face in that close-up is very much like Hannibal Lecter style thing, where when you see him write down the letter, you see the sort of the ADR, so the overdubbing of Daryl Lee Cullum writing and talking, and then you see him kind of looking into the face of the camera, sort of deadpan, is like super crazy. Just so we know, yeah, Peter, that's just the first salvo of the onslaught that this Daryl Lee is planning for Helen. And it's not over yet. Will they do a Copycat 2? Absolutely no. There's no point. Because we're not gonna get a Copycat killer style esque. It will defeat sort of the point. That's why they didn't make another one. And that's about it. Actually, a fantastic view. All right. So, a little bit of story from me from the past. I saw this movie after I've seen Silence of the Lambs. And this movie actually made me look into all those serial killers, because I wasn't aware of like this type of thing. Again, this came out in 1995. I was a teenager at the time. I was close to ending high school. I was watching a ton of movies, and I was interested in a ton of different things at the time. And the serial killer thing was like, oh, this is crazy. There was not a lot of information in terms of looking for it because you couldn't. There was the internet, but it was very rudimentary. You couldn't just go to Wikipedia and started looking through these, I don't know, heaps of information that you got today. But I was interested enough to see like documentaries and all that stuff. And I got really interested in the methodic way of capturing these serial killers. And I thought serial killers were in every corner at that point after seeing this movie. And no, these are very few and far between. And to me, the movie kind of hints the fact that there are lots and lots of white people doing serial killing shit. They're all over the place. The one thing that the movie says but not really emphasizes is the fact that when you have got a serial killer, it tends to kill within the same race. So white people killing white people, black people killing black people, Latinos killing Latinos, Arabs killing Arabs. All around the world. This psychopathy is very much of the Western world, but it's not only that. One of the most prolific killers of all time actually was, I think he was Colombian in origin, but he was working throughout Southern and Central America. I think they caught him in Mexico, and he predominantly killed children and between like 12 and 15. So that was his sort of niche. And it didn't really matter if it was boys or girls. It was his fantasy, fetish, whatever. And there was no sexual stuff going on. It was just power, all about power. That's about it. So apart from enjoying this movie, what kind of final conclusions do you have for this movie? Would you like to see a movie that is of the same ilk today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
Kind of going into like, have you seen Mindhunter? If not, it would be right up your alley because it, like I said, because the main guy in Mindhunter is modeled over the same guy from the FBI who was doing the early profiling for the FBI. You would dig that because it's very much a sort of a detective serializing thing and kind of like starting off that division in the FBI. It only has 2 seasons. It got canceled basically because of COVID. But if you have Netflix, you can watch it. And I think maybe it's already on Tubi if you've got Tubi.
What's it called? Mindhunter?
Mindhunter, yeah.
Mindhunter.
I think it's a Netflix exclusive.
Let me
but I'm
see.
not.
I think they might have it on Movie Box.
Maybe it's because it's a TV. I'm not even sure it's on. Does Movie Box have TV shows?
It has all the Netflix shows and stuff too.
Okay. So
It's on there. It was in 2017, the first season.
Yeah, 2017 till 29. I think they made the first season, then they waited a little bit, then they made the second season. So it took a while for them to do stuff. That's why it kept getting postponed, and then just I think in 2021 it got canceled finally. And it's a shame too. It's really a high-end show. Anyway, boys and girls, that kind of brings us to the end of the show, where kind of brings us to the end of August. Next month that actually has no theme, kind of in tune with last year. Last year in September, we kind of have sort of a hodgepodge of whatever movies we kind of liked. So next week, it's going to be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And we're going to have Horror Amarada joining me. And that is about it. So, Jessica, please tell us all about your channel before we plug your wares. Let's just say that.
Do you want me to take it seriously, or do you want me to do my sarcastic grift that I usually do? Up to you.
Whatever. Up to
Okay.
you.
I'll do
You
my
can go crazy.
sarcastic grifts then. All right. I'm Just Reloaded, and on my channel, I do Reddit reaction streams, I do pop culture, I do cover lawsuits, I do news, just a bunch of stuff and gaming. So if you want to watch content that sucks, don't subscribe to my channel. Or no, if you want to watch, sorry, I screwed that up.
No, if you
If
want
you
to have
want to watch
content that sucks,
subscribe to my channel. If you want
yeah.
to watch good content, don't subscribe to my channel because my channel sucks and I'm nothing but a clout chaser, talentless clout chaser, grifter. What else have people called me?
Aren't we all?
A bunch of other things. So yeah. Basically what I learned to do like when I grift myself now, cuz I know you've noticed it before because I've heard you say it to Legal Mindset. You mentioned me one time and you're like, "What's that shy girl's name?"
Oh yeah.
And now I'm just like, "All right, I play into everything that the trolls like whatever they call me on like this a stream. The next stream, that's my name on StreamYard."
To be perfectly honest, I hold you in a much higher regard since that particular stream because, and I'm stressing the fact, and this would rile up all the trolls. You had no shirt on, no bra on a Nick Rekieta stream, not on YouTube, of course. That's very brave. Now, before all you fucking shitheads in the chat go all crazy,
Let me
no, you can't see anything. It's tasteful.
I'm going to let you down for a moment. I was wearing a tube top. I just placed my camera.
I guessed it,
Yeah.
but I wanted the people to go and watch that stream.
Oh, I think he took it down.
He took it down? Really? Why? It was on Rumble. No?
At a
Oh,
certain
never mind.
point.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Never
Mhm.
mind. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a different thing.
It wasn't me though.
I know it wasn't you. I know it wasn't you. It was a whole other rigmaroles like drama shit. Never mind. I know exactly what you mean. I remember now. Yeah. But I do hold you in a higher regard than just that shy girl over there. Trust me.
It's I've gotten to the point where I've seen all the YouTube drama within the communities, all the like smaller creators biting each other's heads off, being jealous of each other, and I'm like, you guys are all retarded. Cause it's like, just get on here and have fun. Who cares who has more subs than you? Who cares about how many views you get? Like, I never look at my analytics. And that's one thing that Andrew told me. He was like, when you're live streaming, don't look at your concurrent viewers while you're live streaming.
Oh,
Because you're gonna start getting paranoid, like, oh, nobody's watching my stream or whatever, and you're not gonna be yourself when you're on stream. When he said that to me, I was like, oh shit, that makes sense. I don't pay attention to the chat. I don't pay attention to the concurrent viewers. I don't pay attention to the analytics. People seem to like my streams more. My channel's been growing, doing better, and I'm just here to have fun. Like, I don't want to be the next like big YouTuber like Mr. Beast, get rich off of YouTube or something. This is a hobby for me. I'm just here to have fun. So
that's always good.
Whenever the trolls try to troll me, I'm like, the only way to deal with the trolls is to troll them back. And if you don't have the thick skin and actually get butthurt, then you probably shouldn't be on YouTube.
Exactly. Actually, when I started streaming on Twitch like early 2017, before I started, I actually asked advice from like this big World of Warcraft streamer called Towley. I don't know if you know him or not. Doesn't really matter.
No.
He's like OG of the OG. He was on Twitch before it was called Twitch, even before it was called Justin TV. He was streaming on, I think it was Xfire. Back, doesn't really matter. Anyway, he had a show on Saturday where he didn't play any games. He just talked to the stream and he just gave streaming advice to anybody who wanted to stream. It was like, I'm going to take an hour out of my time. I'm just going to ask questions. You want to like send like a donation with a question. You want to ask it in the chat. I'll pick it, whatever. I'll get preferential to whatever. It's not super chats, but the donations. So I didn't send a donation. I just ask, what is the best advice for people who are just starting on Twitch? He literally said, open your OBS, start your game, because he was doing gaming shit. Start your game and do not, he said, that's the advice for any streamer. Do not look at your viewer count. That is the most detrimental thing to your stream, because if you're looking at the viewer count, you're not addressing your chat. He said the second thing is, if you're streaming and there's nobody in the chat, and you probably are aware of nobody in the chat, or there's 10 people but nobody's talking, you should be talking all the time. You have zero dead air. It's like, talk about, if you're playing a game, talk about what you're doing while you're doing it. I'm shooting a fireball right now. It's time to like dodge roll. He said it's the most ridiculous, stupid thing in the world, but you keep talking. A, it works for you. B, it works for the people that you
It draws them in.
You keeping talking, then there's sort of an interaction without you knowing, because of the whole sort of that codependent thing that
The
Nick was talking
parasocial
about.
relationship.
The parasocial relationship.
Mhm.
Plus, if you think about it like a radio show, in a radio show, when nobody's talking, nobody's listening. If you're talking, even if you're talking shit, like stupid shit, like your mind racing and talking at the same time, it's much more entertaining than just shh throughout the stream.
Yeah.
It's the best advice I ever got, and it actually does work. So
It does.
I don't look at I try to look at the chat if I need some feedback, but otherwise I hate looking at the sort of 3 people are watching, 10 people are watching, 140 are watching. It's not
I get
for me.
distracted. Like when I look at the chat, I try to keep up with the chat, but it gets so distracting, especially when I'm like talking about a topic and the chat is goofing off, and then I start goofing off with them, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
You're ruining my stream. Stop it. You know?
Yeah.
But then like when I'm doing my gaming streams, I don't expect anyone to watch them. Not a lot of people like to watch gaming streams.
Not on YouTube.
Some
no.
people do, but yeah. So I talk to myself when I'm gaming, and like I make fun of myself because I know I suck at gaming. I'm like, and who's ready for me to die again? And then I'll be playing, and then boop, I get killed. I'm like, yeah, I saw that coming.
It's the weirdest thing, because the most successful people doing any sort of streaming, even on fucking Facebook, the best gamers do well and the worst gamers do well.
Yeah.
And in the middle, there's various amounts of success. It's so weird that way. But yeah. All right, Jessica, really, thank you very much for joining me. It was
Thank you
a
for having
great
me. It was
talk,
fun.
And yeah, we might book you again for something else.
Sounds good.
You have the list for this year, but I think I have something for you next year, actually. I know it's a bit far, but my list is done for the rest of the year. But
Yeah.
I'll send you the link again. Look at it again. We change a few things. You might want to pop in and give me your feedback. All right.
Okay, no
Until
problem.
then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I didn't plug my own shit, so I'll plug it now. If you want to like talk to me on Twitter, my DMs are completely open to the public. You don't even have to follow me to send me a message. I'll see it. I got verified, so I should see everybody. But if I don't know how that works. If you don't like Twitter, that's fine, or X or whatever you want to call it, X. You can DM me on Instagram. Also public to everybody. Just send me a DM, or you can email the show, the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com. That's email for suggestions for anything. I already got a couple of suggestions last week. I can't actually go through with them because these are suggestions for movies for us to cover. Some of them are on the list for next year. So on the tentative list for next year. But keep on sending whatever you like. I'm listening to every single one. That's awesome. I love the feedback. Just keep doing it. And until next week, boys and girls, good night. You're still here? It's over. Go home.